So I get questions all the time from students inside of the personal development school who will ask me, what is the fastest way to become securely attached? What are the general key themes that I need to focus in on? And in this video, I'm going to take you through the 6 major themes that are the most important to really hone in on when it comes to becoming securely attached. And I'll break down each of these and share a little bit about each of these major areas. The first one, and this is actually what I teach, by the way, in the IAT training program. So I have a training program that we launched last year for people who want to become coaches, and we literally hone in on these 6 major areas. So the first one is core wounds. What are core wounds? Core wounds are essentially these major limiting beliefs that each and every attachment style has because of the way they were conditioned. So, for example, when we can recognize that as a fearful avoidant, you have core wounds around feeling like you can't trust, right? This core wound, I will be betrayed. Fearful avoidants also have other major core wounds that include I will be trapped, helpless, powerless. They've got a lot of those core wounds. And they also have a core wound around abandonment. They fear being abandoned or disconnecting. And there are other core wounds, and they're individual and unique to all of the attachment styles. Obviously, anxious preoccupied core wounds have a lot to do with feeling afraid of abandonment and exclusion, being unsafe, being disliked, rejected. DAs tend to have bigger core wounds around also being unsafe, but fearing of being shamed or defective, like something's wrong with me kind of core wound. And they have other core wounds, including some of the FA ones that they share, the trapped, helpless, powerless, incapable sorts of ideas that they're carrying about themselves. So one of the first things we do is we help to break down core wounds for each attachment style, and then learn the subconscious reprogramming tools necessary to actually recondition them. This is a huge number one. Big number two is we focus in on needs. Now, by the way, this is all trademark content that we have from the last 3 years that we've been running PDS, but it's the overlap of each attachment style with some of the unique needs that they have. And when each attachment style can come to understand their own personal relationship needs, what they need from others, what they need to feel fulfilled on their own as well, and then we can give that information to each attachment style. Can you imagine? Just imagine for a moment if you, depending on what your attachment style is right now, if you had reconditioned all of your major core wounds, and then you had reprogrammed yourself to feel like your needs are worthy of being met and actually had active strategies to meet them on a regular basis. Right there, you feel so much happier, so much more fulfilled. Number 3 is we then help each attachment style to learn how to emotionally regulate. We go into some really in-depth tools for how to emotionally regulate. All of our courses at PDS cover these same major components, right? The path to becoming secure. And when we're emotionally regulating, this includes learning to question some of our stories from a cognitive behavioral therapy kind of model, and learn to understand our needs and be able to meet them and communicate them to others. But it also includes nervous system regulation work. This is super important. So we've got core wounds, needs, emotional regulation. Okay. These are the first sort of major pieces. And each of these processes are slightly unique for each attachment style. But learning to recondition your core wounds, learning to understand your needs, and learning a good tool to use as a practice for emotional regulation, it doesn't take that long. So it sounds like this big thing, but really you can get a lot of these things broken through in a matter of weeks. And these are life-changing things, because if you're not carrying all these painful limiting beliefs about yourself that your subconscious is trying desperately to hang on to, and if you don't have all these unmet needs, which makes you feel unfulfilled in relationships, and if you learn to emotionally regulate yourself so that you can be more calm in relationships and not jump to conclusions or escalate conflict, right there, this is completely transformative, not just in your romantic relationships, but all relationships. So those are our first 3. Now, I do want to give a little shout out here, because as I'm diving into this, we're also actually launching another version of IAT. So we're going to be doing another sort of live version that's going to be an 8-week program that the model's slightly tweaked from what we did last year. And we have a recorded version. So if you actually want to do the training in these things, not just to better understand yourself and do a much deeper dive into your own healing, but also to be able to put yourself in a position where you can help other people. It's a training to become a certified integrated attachment theory coach. It's all trademarked and organized through our school. And we've had about, a few hundred people come through the program so far between the live and recorded, and had really, really incredible results. And at the end of the training, we actually do a whole 4-hour session on how to start your own business so that you can have freedom, flexibility, create a lot of that financial freedom in your life, doing something like working one-on-one with clients, specifically as a relationship coach. And this is also a great certification for anybody who's already a counselor or therapist and just wants to expand their toolkit. So I will put the link below if you want to learn more. And the next cohort, we tend to fill up very fast. So if you want to jump in, we sold out all of the ones that we've run so far. So if you want to get in there and get a seat before the live cohort runs out, it will launch on February 22nd, and doors are open right now, and early bird pricing is available right now as well. So this brings me to the second half of these 6 major pieces. So we've got our core wounds, we've got our needs, we've got emotional regulation. Then we have to learn how to communicate. And there's some really simple strategies once we understand that foundational part of ourselves. And this is what integrated attachment theory is. It's overlapping attachment theory with the subconscious mind, and then core wounds, needs, boundaries, emotional regulation patterns, and communication, as well as sort of having healthier coping mechanisms or behaviors. So so when you look at this, it's like when we have our core wounds, we learn to express our needs, and we've reprogrammed our relationship to those things so that we're releasing core wounds, can express our needs, can emotionally regulate ourselves and our nervous system. And then we can talk about these things to others. We can share our needs with other people in our lives and relationships. And then we can improve our boundaries, right? We can learn what our boundaries are, and do some work to recondition our relationship to boundaries. Last but not least, all we have to do is have healthier coping mechanisms, right? So we do a little bit of reconditioning work on coping mechanisms. And it's really these 6 major facets of us as individuals that are putting us in an insecurely attached space, because we've usually had trauma that has caused us to have core wounds, disconnect from our needs, have a dysregulated nervous system, and not be in a space of emotionally regulating effectively, not know that we can communicate our needs because we don't know what they are, have painful coping mechanisms and poor boundaries. And if we can instead shift all of these things in a very result oriented period of time to hone in on these things and make massive progress, it's not even just healing for your attachment style, although these 6 major things are necessary to become securely attached. But you can hone in on those, and then they impact so many other areas of life: your self-confidence in the workplace, your ability to make new friends, to feel more connected because you feel safer being vulnerable, your intrinsic self-confidence because you know who you are, you feel safe supporting yourself and having boundaries in your world and your life. And we do cover other, exciting bonus tools like shadow work for different attachment styles and for the relationship shadow as we go through the training for IAT. But these are the 6 most important things to pay attention to when it has to do with becoming securely attached. So I hope this makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to learn more about the program, please feel free to click the link down below to learn more. And I will see you in future videos.